I'd like to call the Londonderry Town Council meeting to order, Monday, April 7th, 7 PM. Everyone stand for Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance. I will take a motion to bring us into non-public session in accordance with RSA 91A:3, 2C
So moved.
Second.
by Sean. Moved by Sean, second by Ted. We need a roll call vote.
Aye, Dick Holmes.
Aye, Sean Faber.
Aye, Ron Dunn.
Aye, Dan Bouchard.
I, Deb Paul.
We'll be back. I'll accept a motion to come out of non-public, RSA 91A:3, 2, Section C.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ted, second by Sean. Roll call vote.
Aye, Dick Holmes.
Aye, Sean Faber.
Aye, Ron Dunn.
Aye, Dan Bouchard.
I, Deb Paul.
We are out of non-public. Thank you for your patience. The next on the agenda is public comment. Public comment is open.
I don't think they
Did
did.
you, Mr. Chair,
So,
did you?
sorry, you're right, minutes, forgot the minutes. My fault. I'll accept the motion to seal the minutes till December 31st, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
By Sean, motion by Sean, second by Ted. Roll call vote.
Aye, Dick Holmes.
Aye, Sean Faber.
Aye, Ron Dunn.
Aye, Dan Bouchard.
I, Deb Paul.
Sorry. Go ahead, yeah, go ahead, sorry.
Want to stop a good thing. I don't want to stop the wheels of progress. I'm Dennis Martin, 182 Pillsbury Road, Londonderry, New Hampshire. I'm actually bringing an intention to the town and the town council that this has got to stop. I found these in the middle of the road. Not just these, but others. This has got to stop. This is getting way out of hand with the amount of signs that we're allowing in this town. It's turning into a rubbish area. They're everywhere. And, you know, and and it's just not these candidates, it's other candidates too. Believe me, if I found any one of your signs, I would have been brought it in here to tonight too. So we've got to start looking at what we're going to do about these signs. And they, you know, some of the candidates put out 200 signs, you know. I don't know if we can limit it, start, you know, saying, listen, put 50 out. I mean, how many signs do you need to put out? You know, I put them out on my property, but the very next day, they're off. I don't let them stay out there because I don't want them winding up in the streets or in the woods and so forth. This is an issue. I mean, trash alone in Londonderry, and many towns too, is an issue, especially on Pillsbury Road, Mammoth Road, Gilcrest, all the main roads that you can drive. There's rubbish everywhere. And I know we have Beautify in Londonderry, but that's just not enough. Twice a year is what they do it. I did it one time too myself, and I can't do it because of my back. But that's just not enough. We have to change it. There's no reason why the Department of Public Works, 1 month out of the year during the spring, that's because that's when you start seeing all the rubbish. You don't see it in the winter because it gets buried by snow. Can't go out there and have a crew work the streets for about a month, and it would clean the streets up really easy. I don't understand why we can't do that. And don't tell me you don't have the help. They don't have the help. When I've gone to the dump and seen 5 guys standing at the dump doing nothing. Okay? So we need to look at this. This is an issue. I don't want this town to look like a dump, and it's starting to look like that. And not just these signs, it's everything. So
Dennis, I'll look into the issue, but just, you know, public employees, they do work hard. They do, you know, don't, but I will look into the issue.
well, in your opinion, they do. In my opinion, what I see when I go to the dump and there's 5 guys sitting there and all they're doing is taking checks. Okay?
Mr. Chair,
Good, Ted.
regarding the political signs, I think state law governs that more than what we'd be able to do on that, and we'd have to adhere with or at least consult our attorney to make sure that we're following state law on that and that we're not subverting that. So we'd have to look further into that. And I know I've seen in the past that, you know, a political campaign can be potentially fined for leaving signs out past a certain amount of time, but I don't know if that just adheres to state and U.S. Signs, but also town signs. But
Well-
also there's, you know, we'd want to be able to make sure that we're following state law regarding political signs.
How long are they allowed to leave them out after the voting?
10 days after the election.
Okay, and they're supposed to come back and get them.
Yep.
And if they don't, what happens?
Uh,
Usually nothing.
Yeah,
because
usually-
It's really
No
hard to.
fine, nothing?
Usually nothing.
The candidates don't get fined or the,
Not that I'm aware of, Dennis, but I can check into that for you.
That, and also I think it's hard to control wind and weather, and a lot of people, may have a hard time maintaining signs with the wind. And
well, then that's why this has got to be changed. Something has to be done about
I think
this.
on that one, it would have to go to the State House.
We'll go Dan and then Deb.
I just want to point out that during the campaign, all right, we all know how windy it was out there and signs were blowing all over the place. I did go to our assistant town manager and I voiced my concern because I had people mention, we got all these signs everywhere and yada yada. So I did talk to our assistant town manager and I said, we now have a code enforcement officer. And could we have that person go out there and, get these signs? And I'll tell you, I drove around and just recently, and the signs that I had pointed out to him have been picked up by them. So now that we have a code enforcement officer, I think it will help. But I know myself, I had signs out there, and with all the wind, I searched for them. I got all my signs, all right? But some of them were like blown across 102 into the woods. So I just want to thank our assistant town manager for following up with that and having those picked up by our code enforcement.
Well,
Thank
if that's happening with signs and we know that the signs are going to take off and go in the woods, it's your responsibility to go in and get them in the woods, right? And so that's I found one of these signs up in the woods, and I went and got it because I wanted to bring it to the attention of the town that we have an issue with this. And quite frankly, it looks trashy when they put out all these signs. And I know I put my sign up every year because the town manager allows me for the Blues Festival, but I really good about the next day after Blues Festival's done, I get it out of there because I don't, plus my sign's a sturdy sign. It's not gonna, and if it did get blown away, I am always keeping an eye on that. So,
Deb, you wanted to make a comment?
oh, sorry, Deb.
Yeah.
No worries. So two things. When you talk about signs, I mean, the code enforcement officer is in charge of all signs. So when people put up a sign in the right of way, like you ever see them going all across 102 that say liquidation, you need to call them and tell them that. Or electrician, if it's not on somebody's property, and I just used electrician, it could be plumber or whatever, carpenter, those things. And then the ones that are on the telephone poles, they're not, the Eversource doesn't want you to have, that's actually against the law as well. So he's in charge of all of that. So when it's up to you guys, the residents, to tell him where these signs are, to let him know so he can do his job. But I know, Dennis, last time at the council, from when I was on it, you had mentioned us looking into getting the prisoners to come
Yeah,
and do a cleaning thing for us. Did you ever look into
yeah, I
it? or
did. I
the
gave
town ever?
I gave a call to someone. I got names of people, and then did I talk to you about that, Councilman Dunn?
You did talk
And
to
what,
me.
What happened? Do you
Right
remember?
now, the program is not active.
That's what it was. Yeah, it wasn't active. So, I mean, we could have gotten them out there and doing that because how it works with them is for every day they do something, they get time taken off their sentence. And
I
but
just
they can't
didn't know
do
where
it
that
anymore.
went, and I knew you had brought it up a couple times, and
No, I would have. I would have stayed on top.
Absolutely. John, go ahead.
So Dennis, to answer your question, and with RSAs, this gets very specific, but I'm trying to get you a quick answer. So violation of RSA 66417, which is removal of the signs after the fact, there is a maximum penalty of $2,000 per instance of,
What that mean per
piece.
sign?
yeah.
But nothing is ever done about it.
You'd have to, as within all laws, call the agency that's supposed to enforce it. I would guess you'd call the Secretary of State's office if you see someone's signs out there, and then they have to go through process and procedure. I just wanted to cover if within RSAs, there are penalties, and so there are. It's got to go through the process and procedure, but they do exist.
Now, can I throw those signs away?
After 10 days, it's not the person's property anymore.
Okay.
So you can throw them away.
All right, I just wanted to, again, I'm just trying to bring attention to the problem we have with signs, and not just that, trash. You know, I think beautifying Londonderry people do a great job trying to get up, but they don't get the whole town. They only get a certain section, and it seems like that's the area they stay in. And there's many other areas in this town that are, the trash is just unbelievable. And I don't know why we can't get the public, all they would need is, hey, listen, if I can cover Pillsbury from High Rain Road all the way to, all the way up to Gilcrest, and I did that in 2 days with only working 2 or 3 hours at each day. And I cleaned that whole area out a few years ago. If I can do that by myself, imagine what they could do with a crew of 3 or 4 people doing it for a
And
month.
I'll ask the question and get back to you.
What's
I
that?
promise. I'll ask the question
Oh,
and get
okay.
back to you, I promise you.
All right, thanks.
Yep.
You want to address the recording issue?
Anybody else?
Mr. Chair, just really quick.
Yeah.
I might be helpful if you wanted to note for the public that's here that this isn't being recorded live, but it is being recorded.
Okay.
So I think a few people were wondering what the status was. It's not live, but it is recorded.
And do you know why?
I believe that the cable department is at a conference.
Okay. So the meeting is not being recorded live. They are at a conference.
Should be up in a couple days, they'll
Yeah.
have it, or a day or so.
That's what I was.
Okay, yep.
Thank you, Rich.
Okay.
Christine Perez, 5 Wesley Drive. 2 things. Number one, I said I'd bring you up to date a little bit on what was happening in Concord. Last week, the week before Wednesday and Thursday, we actually had 2 sessions and did 103 bills that we actually voted on. Don't ask me what they all are. But a lot of them will affect us directly. We do have some zoning bills that I personally have concerns about, and I'll bring those as soon as we know what's going to happen with them. And we will be voting on the state budget on Thursday, so that's a big thing. And then as far as we're paying $29,000 a year for the municipal association, I really would like to see you all, instead of picking up the phone and calling the lawyer all the time, you can call the municipal association. They have lawyers there, and they will answer your questions. And it's for free because you've already paid $29,000. When I was looking into the impact fees, that's the resource that I used, and I didn't have to pay anything for it. So they might be able to help you with the sign issue or other issues, but I shouldn't say it's a lot cheaper than calling the lawyer. But since we're already paying for it, let's get our $29,000 out of it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Christine.
Yes, hi. Doug Thomas, 143 Mammoth Road. I just came up here just to make an observation and a comment. And as I was, and it just so happened that, thanks for posting these rules of order that you'll be covering tonight. But as I go over a couple of items, one was in paragraph 3 about discussions which are not addressing business before council or which are conducted in a disorderly or disrespectful manner shall be ruled out of order. And then you go on to paragraph 5 that says, meetings shall be conducted in accordance with generally accepted practices of order and decorum. Since you say that here, I would like to make a comment that I'm a bit concerned on the council's action a few weeks ago that appears to allow people to either swear or use obscenity if they come up here and speak. So we don't allow that in our house. And so I would appeal to the council to either reconsider that or to at least speak to the decorum should that ever happen here so that you can maintain order at least. And because right now it appears that we have no real rules against that. So just my comment, observation on that.
Did you want to comment there?
Yeah, I would, because that was
Yeah.
me who said it. The fact is, you can say those things. You can always ask people to have decorum. But if somebody stood up there are no rules for cable. The cable studio, you can swear. There's no FCC rules that govern cable and profanity. And if I come up and I say something, as long as I'm not being disruptive or belligerent or rude to somebody, like yelling, but if I say, oh, that's bull, you can say that, you just can't say, don't say that. You can, that, because that's your way of speaking, and I can give you 5 to 6 attorneys that will tell you, because I went and looked at this afterwards, and I know I'm 100% correct. It is a form of free speech. You can put in your rules that, or Ron can say, we want people to be nice or speak civilly, but if you came up and said, oh, that's bull crap, there's nothing you can do. It's not illegal to say that.
Understood that on an occasional slip of the tongue, that would not be a cause for any disruption. My point, though, is that should someone start using words of that manner, that I would hope that the council would take action to tell that person to please refrain or be subject to whatever action you want to give that person. My point is that if someone were to complain about something, you have no rules that say, well, I can't do anything about it because it's not in our rules. It's just my comment and observation, because sometimes people get passionate, but we don't want them to get out of hand. So
And Doug,
please,
Dan just brought something to my attention
Yeah.
that may make the council happy, and we could address it at the next meeting. Just a different phrasing of the words, and that could satisfy you and Deb at the same time, so.
Absolutely.
We'll review that as a council, and it's Dan's suggestion, so.
like I said, it was an observation. I just want to make sure that meetings are conducted with a decorum, because sometimes, and I know
Yep.
that they are not back at the State House, and we need to corral that as well. All right, thank you.
Absolutely. Did you want to share that? real quick?
No, I just want to make a comment that I heard a lot about it the last 3 weeks from the people out there saying, oh, you can do this now? And I'm like, no, that's not what we're saying you can do. So, yeah, we can address it next
Yeah.
meeting. Next meeting.
I think Dan has a good suggestion, which we'll bring out to the public, and
The whole point was to make that clear, yes. Thank you.
thank you.
you.
Anybody else in public comment? Seeing none, I'll close public. Oh, that's right. Dan, you wanted to bring, sorry.
No, it's different. I just want a public comment.
Okay, sorry.
I just want to state that I had a resident commented to me this week that he and his wife came to town hall, and he commented about how nice and helpful the staff was, and he and his wife were very happy. And I just want to bring that out because I think it's nice when we can recognize our employees when you hear about how appreciative they are. So that's it. I'll do my other thing under new business.
Okay, that's fine. All right, so moving on to new business. Dan, you had something to add?
Yes. Kelly, you ready? We went through this today. I had this situation over here at 28 and Sanborn Road. Anybody who's familiar with that area knows how it's a safety concern. About a year ago, I asked a year ago by some residents, why don't we have an officer at Rockingham Road and Sanborn Road when the parents and buses are dropping off students in the morning and picking up students in the afternoon to help exit Sanborn Road? So I brought this up to the council at a public comment, and I got a thank you response. I asked the chief and was told that he didn't have the manpower and he couldn't guarantee an officer out there at the time, and it, could pose a liability. So when I was elected, I was asked again about this. So I spent the last 3 weeks doing my own research into this matter. So if you look at Route 28 and Sanborn Road, it's a posted 40-mile-per-hour zone. There is a light if you are headed north on Rockingham Road with a 30-mile-per-hour sign that flashes yellow 45 minutes prior to the start of school and 45 minutes after school lets out. Now, this light is located in the area of Old Mammoth Road. The other light that flashes with a 30-mile-per-hour sign is posted about halfway between Sanborn Road and Page Road when you are headed south on Rockingham Road. Both of these lights are functional and go on at the correct times. If you are headed south on Route 28 from Manchester, when you go past Page Road, the road starts to decline. There's a hill there. As a result, in many cases, vehicles pick up speed and go faster than the posted speed. This makes it difficult for vehicles exiting Sanborn Road, especially if you're trying to make a left and turn out of Sanborn Road and head south on Route 28. Now, keep in mind, buses are longer than cars and do not accelerate and move as fast. As a result, it makes it harder for them to pull out safely when traffic is such as big trucks are coming down, headed south on Rockingham Road, down the hill, approaching the intersection. So this intersection once had a crossing guard many years ago. This is probably before any of your times here. Maybe Ted remembers this because he's been in town for a while. There was a woman, and she got struck by a vehicle there while she was crossing students. Thank God she survived. The rail trail got funding to put a light up so people could cross safely. I'm not sure why a regular traffic light was not installed, but this is what we now have. So that light serves the purpose for the rail trail as a pedestrian light, but does nothing to protect the students, parents, and bus drivers that have to exit Sanborn Road every day and take their life into their hands. So for 3 weeks, I've sat up there and I've done my own due diligence. This is my observation in the morning and afternoon in the area for the past few weeks. Very few vehicles travel 30 miles or less in that area. I know this because 28 years of being a police officer and watching vehicles and running radar and such, I have a good sense of that. Construction season is here. I saw many construction dump trucks loaded, moving right along, well over 30 miles an hour, coming down that hill. Many tractor trailers coming through this area, coming from businesses at the airport, also over 30 miles an hour. We have FedEx, UPS, delivery trucks of all kinds coming down that road towards Sanborn Road. Vehicles heading south, waiting to make a left turn onto Sanborn Road, are passed on the right, with vehicles not even slowing down. 2 vehicles, one northbound and one southbound, both wanting to turn onto Sanborn Road and unable to because other drivers are passing them on the right. The rail trail walker, one day when I watched him, he pressed the light. So I'm like, oh, this is going to help. Actually, it didn't, okay? So they were able to cross 28, and after the person crosses traffic, it left chaos. Nobody knows who should go. Eventually, Rockingham Road traffic moves. Sanborn Road traffic is unable to proceed safely. I headed south on Rockingham Road in my own vehicle, traveling at 40 miles an hour. And when I got to the school zone, those vehicles in front of me pulled way ahead, doing well over 30 miles an hour. Vehicles laying on their horn. I was even passed in the no passing zone. Okay? So I've even saw police cars drive by, and nobody stopped to help direct traffic. So then I went and I checked at on South Road. We have South School there. I didn't observe this kind of traffic issues at all, and we have a school resource officer there. The middle school on Mammoth Road, all right, traffic doesn't move that fast on Mammoth Road compared to Route 28, but we also have an officer with a cruiser at the middle school letting out students and buses safely. So at one of the most dangerous school areas where students, parents, and bus drivers try to come out of Sanborn Road, we have no help. So I would ask that the town manager direct the police department administration to have an officer at Rockingham Road and Sanborn Road at the prior start of school and when the school lets out, for the safety of the children, the parents, the bus drivers, before we have a tragic accident in this area. With those trucks coming down that road, we are, a matter of time before we're going to end up with a serious accident down there and somebody's going to get hurt. We are on borrowed time. Something needs to be done. I believe this can be done at no cost to the taxpayer, and I do not want to see this done on overtime or any added costs. And I ask my fellow councilors to support this for the safety of the people in our community. I remember when we were talking about putting Christmas lights up on the common, and nobody wants to take Christmas away from people, and that. So, so I'm looking at, I don't want to lose, one of our kids and kids get hurt. So Londonderry has faced issues like this before. So for example, on 102 by exit 4, there was never a traffic light there for years. We had an officer directing traffic there every single afternoon until we got a traffic light put up there. So that's what I'm looking for as far as trying to get this intersection addressed during the kids going to school and parents and buses for the safety of those students.
So we put it in new business, so it can be, we give the acting town manager and the police chief a chance
Yep.
to respond or any resources he needs, so at the next meeting we can address it. Unless you want to make a comment now. I don't want to put you on the spot, but,
I work best
okay, all
on the
right.
spot.
So
So
we put it under new business.
as
so
the
you-
acting town manager at the councilor's request, I'll talk to myself about it first thing tomorrow morning.
Okay.
Do you guys mind if I go to the podium as the police chief rather than sit here? Thank you. Councilors, good evening. Mr. Bouchard, thank you very much for that indulging intro. 28 years in the police department was a long time, and you did serve there a long time ago. Actually, back when you were a patrol officer, I'm pretty sure that the traffic was not what it is today. However, your concern is well noted. We've talked about this in traffic safety. We've talked about this at numerous town council meetings. SROs belong in the school. We know that when shootings take place, they need to be a cop in the school. We don't need cops directing traffic. They need to be inside protecting schools that pick up and drop offs. When issues happen, we need a cop in the school at those times. School crossing, we have one elementary SRO. And I'm glad you brought up the part about the SROs. When we talked at traffic safety about having vacancies, I had said, when I fill up, I'm putting another cop in the school. It's important. If I have one SRO at the North School, then I don't have an SRO at the South School. I have an SRO at the high school. I have one that's in the middle school. And you're correct, the middle school is a dangerous spot. They're out there every single day to the best of their ability. They're even out there in the lousy weather. The issue is not about the police won't do anything about it. I have a solution. I can reallocate personnel. That's my job, not the council's job. I dictate where my personnel go. I'm protected by statute. I put them at my discretion of the police department. I don't have the ability just to stick one up there every single day without a cost. It's not about money. It's about having personnel available to handle other calls for service in the north part of town. I have one patrol. I love advertising to all the criminals out there. I have one patrol guy who works the north part of town. So all they need to do is just wait to know that I've got a guy over there to go do something over there. That section is dangerous, no doubt. If I was a resident and I was that concerned about going out there, I'd go down to Clark Road, bang a right, and go down and come out on 28 where the sight line visibility is a lot clearer. That's what I would do. Your point is well taken. The deputy chief will add more directed patrols, for sure. This is the challenge that I've been telling you folks for years. We can only put so many people out at so many places at once. If I had an emergency call for service at the crosswalk or the crossing section up there, they leave to go handle the emergency call for service in that sector. This isn't anything that we're trying to solve that hasn't been a problem forever in every municipality. We hire crossing guards. We do. We try to fill them. Do you want to stand out there for $15 an hour? Probably not. So when these things do get brought to my attention, I address them. We don't shirk these calls off. We don't downplay them. We understand the severity of it. You know, when in the summertime, when the SROs are not in school, 2 of them stay to help with programs. The other 2 go to help with traffic assignments throughout the community for that the summertime when they're not in serving as an SRO. So I do hear you loud and clear, Dan. We're working on this. This is the first time this has been brought up to me, and I'd assume through the deputy chief in quite some time. Have you recalled anything of late coming in about this intersection?
Not of late.
Not of late. Until right now? Correct. Okay, it's on the list. We'll put somebody out there for directed patrols, and we're on it. Simple.
Did you have a question, Deb?
I do. Can you switch your hat again as town manager, please? Turn around and put that other hat on. Thank you. Very good.
Thanks.
So I was listening to what you said,
Yep.
and I listened to the whole thing, and we do have these lights here. Is it possible, as the town manager, to look at getting a timing system on there? So you know how like they have so it's always green going this way, right, on 28, right? But when there's a queue of 4 or more cars on Sanborn or on you know what I mean?
Okay,
The thing
I'm
can
with you
read.
so
There's
far,
a
yeah.
little sensor thing they put on the lights, and if it sees that, it can trigger it and stop the traffic to allow. So in other words, it
I
stops
see what you're saying.
rocking and turn.
You're asking if we can make an inquiry with DOT, if they
Correct.
can put sensors in the ground on Sanborn Road to trigger these things if there's cars piling up to turn red so traffic can get out.
Yeah, I mean that's a safe way to do it, and it.
Yep,
and
it's a good question.
I
don't know if that's even a thing, but
I do know it's a thing, but I don't know
yeah,
if it
I don't
works
know.
with those lights.
I think that may be, I think that's Division 5 DOT. I don't know if they have anything to do with the crosswalk there, but I can double check on that.
Yeah, because it's not a pedestrian thingy; it's a sensor.
I get you.
thingy.
I get you. The other quick solution is much like we do on Sergeant Road. We have no traffic coming out left during the school hours. We can talk to the traffic safety. We can get a hold of signage, and maybe we do that while school is in order, or that time frame, 7 a.m. to 8:30, whatever it might be. No left or right hand turns out of Sanborn Road. I don't know, but I can look into that request for you. I think I don't know if it's doable or not. I wish I could
I
tell
don't
you.
either. It just came to me, so
Sure.
I figured for next week when we have it as old business, it can be
Sure.
talked about.
Dan had another question.
Well, I've got a couple comments. First of all, yeah, there are a lot of cars that go down on 28 and Clark already. All right, and when you state that, you want the cops in the school, not directing traffic, but we have them at the middle school directing traffic.
We do.
We have them at South School directing traffic. All right, and everybody's always concerned, and I've heard, the acting town manager say this many times, liability, we're going to get sued. Okay? Well, I've brought this up before. I'm bringing it up again.
Sure.
All right? God forbid should there be an accident up there. All right? It's going to fall on us for not acting. I know that it's up to you to direct your personnel. All right? And that you don't want to have a patrol officer tied up there. All right? Very simple, all right? And I wasn't going to go there with this, but there are plenty of people in that police department, administrators, if need be, that you can go up there and make sure that the traffic is taken care of for the safety of our children and our citizens, all right, before we end up with an accident. That's where I'm going.
Okay. Let's give him a chance to get back to us.
And
right.
I just want something done.
All right.
And I don't want to wait forever.
Let's give him a chance to get back to us the next time.
I think that your point, Mr. Bouchard, is well taken. But again, just as you said, you want something done immediately. This is some of the similar things that residents talk about on their own roads too. So we will add it to the list, as I tell everybody. We will follow through on directed patrols, like I say every single time. And we'll do the best we can to address this intersection.
Yes, we'll put it on the agenda, under old business.
So we'll have it.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, and I'll find out with DOT if
Yeah.
that's even a thing. I don't know, but we can
Yeah.
find out. All right?
Thank you, sir.
Sweet, thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Oh, yeah.
So I just wanted to add, certainly, it would have been very helpful if we could have passed and hired on new police officers that our past weren't, as potentially this would have helped with our situation. And as well, secondly, I believe for that section of 28 needs to be probably further studied, and I think the 10-year plan by the state has been trying to look at that area as well with the triangle area with the Mammoth mobile station there and Mammoth Road for quite a while. And I know they've been trying to get a light there in the past, but either due to funding or saying it's too close to other lights or intersections, there might have been reasons why they had said no in the past. And I think we were lucky that we got at least the crosswalk light there. And I know a intersection light that's fully working is not a cheap option. And I would hate for the state to come down and say, oh, no, that's on you now, even though it's a state road, because they may deem, oh, it's not necessary by our studies. If you want that, you got to pay for it. So I'd hate for that to be their response, but hopefully maybe we can give a push there. If you can maybe give an inquiry with our DOT, being our state representative on the board.
Absolutely.
I got one more comment, Ted, on what you said, all right, about the town voting down the police officers. I've heard this at traffic safety tonight. I've heard it in the community from town employees, police officers saying, well, the town voted down the 2 officers, all right? And this has been brought up through the budget process many times. We have vacant positions on that department. If you fill those vacant positions, maybe we'll have the officers to put for traffic. That's my position on it.
Let's give the town manager / chief a chance to get back to us at the next meeting.
Yep.
All right? Thank
Will
you,
do.
sir. Thank you, Dan. Thank you. Moving on to old business. I want to take a look at the town council rules of order. And I wrote down one thing I'd like to do, and I just was going to share it with you guys to start it off. As far as the agenda is concerned, if you look at the current way it's listed, I'd like to move the board committee assignments and reassignments after public comment. I don't think it's right to have the people sit here through a whole meeting and then we appoint them at the end. So I would just like to see if we can move board committee reappointments after public comment, and then add a second public comment before we adjourn to that.
I'm in agreement.
Wait, what?
Yep.
I'm
Can
good
you
with
say
that.
that again?
Yep, so if you look at page,
Oh, God, there's no
Public
page
comment
number.
here,
D
both committee assignments.
yep,
is what you're talking about?
Before public.
yes,
So it's the
it's, agenda
way people don't have to wait.
on page, it's actually section D, rules of order, yeah.
But
Section
you're
D.
saying you're gonna move public comment to the very end of the meeting?
No,
instead?
I'm saying I'm gonna have, no,
I'm not sure why
I'm
we're
gonna
gonna
s-
have 2 public comments.
I'm gonna have call to order, public comment, and then move board of committees, assignments, reassignments after the public comment before the public hearing.
That's perfectly fine.
So people don't have to wait.
Yeah, that's fine. That's perfectly fine to move board appointments up.
And then I wanna add a second public comment before we adjourn.
I don't know why.
Can I adjust that?
Because
Absolutely.
I feel like,
Hey. I can tell you why I'd like to do it, because I feel like the community's asked for it, and they've been telling me that they'd like to have public comment. I know that 2 people in the audience tonight asked me specifically for this, because they say that after we discuss things during the meeting, they'd like to be able to come up and have any comment that they have, and not have to hold it for 2 weeks. And to me,
Okay.
it's not, I don't think it's a big ask, but
okay,
open for
so
discussion.
I'll at least give my 2 cents on that.
Yeah.
So my 5 years being on the council, normally by the end of the meeting, there's basically no one here. So I don't understand what's the point of having that at the end of the meeting if there's no one here to even talk, because even the former chairman,
Yeah.
Counselor, Franz had actually asked many times during meetings if anyone had anything to talk about at the end, and either no one had anything or no one was even here at the end of the meetings. So
So-
I would just hate to waste time in the meeting to do so.
Yep, so I'll have Dan and then Deb.
I just think that having public comment at the end is a good idea. Somebody who sat out there for years, okay, and listened to the debate, and then can't say anything. I just think it's a good idea to be able to say something, and maybe it changes somebody's mind, and somebody can revisit something. So I don't think there's anything bad with that.
Deb, what's next?
So the whole reasoning behind it is to be printed, and I know it was said at meetings, but if you see it printed, you know you can stay. So if there's something being talked about under old business or new business that you don't have an opportunity to speak to, you can stay to the end of the listen to what we all have to say, and then get up there and say, by the way, did you know this? And knowing that it's on there, some of the people might stay who come at the beginning because they have something to say about something that's on the agenda. Like tonight's agenda really didn't have a lot on it, but just say it happened to have that Sanborn Road thing on there under new business. There could have been a couple of people from Sanborn Road who saw that or who were affected by that, came to sit here through this, listen to what we all said, and then at the end of the meeting could have responded with either an idea or, echoed our sentiments or whatever. So the reason that, it's just 2 words on a piece of paper. I mean, if nobody's here, it doesn't really matter anyway. It's just, but it's allowing the residents of this town to have that opportunity, whether they use it or not, is a horse of a different color. That's how I see
If
it.
that's the case, then I say we move public comment to the very end of the meeting. There's no need to have public comment at the beginning and end. Because the school
Why
board,
not?
I believe they have it near the end
Good
too, don't
government
they?
would govern you to say that you let the public talk.
So I would say, Ted, if there's nobody here at the end, I still offer public comment, nobody speaks, we move on. It's not, if somebody wants to speak, gives them an opportunity to speak. If no one's here, then they don't speak and we move on.
No, I understand. I would just hate to see our meetings going on until past midnight because we've added
Right.
public comment for another hour and a half to 2 hours at the end of the meeting.
We limit public comment to 5 minutes, and if they want to speak for 5 minutes, I'm willing to listen to them.
Can I say something?
Go ahead.
I appreciate what you're saying. We don't want to be here till late, but the fact is, we ran to do a job, and our job is to listen to what these people have to say. And if they're going to stay here till 9 o'clock and step up to tell us something, and if it's getting redundant, that is up to the chair to say, you know what, we've heard all of this already, to settle it down. But if we have to stay till 10, 11, I, as one counselor, if I have to stay to listen to these people to get as much information, as positive new information, then I'm willing to do it. So that's my 2 cents on that.
I have something else on it.
Go ahead, sir. Go ahead, Dan.
Adopting rules of order.
Where are you at?
In organization number 3,
Okay.
it says the chairman may delegate members of the council to serve on committees and to perform other duties. I think this year, when we did it, we kind of went down the list. And, my recommendation would be that the council will meet and select committees to serve on. If the council members cannot agree on committee assignments, the chairman will make the decision to fill any vacant assignments.
Okay. So where you're at.
Yeah. What was that again?
So he is on
I'm on the second page.
section B, Deb, number 3.
Yeah, right at the top.
Okay.
So it's basically saying that, the council will meet and select committees to serve on. If the council members cannot agree, I think on the first meeting,
Yep.
people were kind of going back and forth. I think it's just up to the chair to say, this is the way it's going to
Yep.
be. That's my recommendation on that one.
Any comments on Dan's suggestion?
I think that one gets dicey if we change it. I'd probably prefer to leave the language retained the way it is, but I'm not hard on that.
Anybody else have an opinion?
I think it should stay the same as it is.
I don't know. I think I don't like the fact that I kind of like what Dan said.
Because the way it is right now is the chair is gonna decide what you're gonna do. And that's not what you did.
Right.
And I mean, this new sheet
Oh, I was the
really,
chair.
really helps that Dan did, that
You know.
he did, took his time to do. If we all got that sheet, we could look at it and,
Yeah, on your new liaison assignments.
So what did you have again? How do you want to word it again? So Dan's suggestion is the council will meet to select committees to serve on. If the council members cannot agree, the assignments will be designated by the chair.
I think the language of meeting is hard because then you have to have a designated meeting. You have to notice that it's post-election. That becomes
I think what,
some
So reword.
structural difficulties to that.
Reword the
yeah, I don't
committee
think, I think Dan is at the organizational meeting, right? You're not talking about a separate meeting.
No, at the organizational meeting.
so maybe it says that in there. At the organizational meeting,
The council
the
will meet
counselors
at-
can choose.
And then if there's any disagreement, then the chair
Yeah.
will assign them.
Right. Especially with this new sheet, I really think this is a great thing that Dan gave us. It tells you the days, like personally, I can't do like Tuesday, so I know what meetings are on Tuesday, so I take those out of the mix for me.
So basically, the
Yep.
council will meet at the organizational meeting and select committees to serve on.
Yep.
If the council members cannot agree, then you can, the
So what Dan is proposing now is the council will meet at the organizational meeting and select the committees to serve on. If the council members cannot agree, the assignments will be made by the chair. Is there any,
What do you think?
I'll just say I disagree with changing it.
okay. I like the council having input. That's why I did it that way, because I wanted people to have, I wanted people to be on committees that they would go and attend. I didn't want someone to be on a committee that's like, oh, I'm on this committee, I'm never gonna go.
Right.
And
I wanted
agree with
people-
you on that.
Huh?
And
No, I wanted, so the reason I asked for participation from everybody is I wanted engagement, I wanted people to go to the meetings, and I know that, I think everyone's been going to their meetings, everyone's pretty happy with the committees they got. And I think that gives more engagement for us as a council to go to the meetings.
And that's what I was looking at doing, instead of just saying
Right.
the chair may delegate members to other council,
So,
which is what had been done in the past.
right.
Apparently.
I'm fine with Dan's suggestion. Do you guys adamantly opposed, or you guys?
No,
I'm,
I mean, if you three are,
I'm looking at Ted, are you okay with that, or?
I mean, it's been done this way for the past, what's this, almost 14 years now? That the chair decides, he looks at who would be probably best suited for each board and commission, and I thought that it had worked out well. I mean, I personally didn't really like what had happened, where you kind of blindsided me with what had happened. I was the chairman. I was following the rules of our meetings, and then drastically blindsided by the whole thing. So I wasn't really happy when you just kind of changed our whole process, and now we want to change them again tonight. So you want to change things? Okay, I'm done right now. So we can move on.
I'm looking for a consensus, I guess, because we want to do this.
I'm for changing it.
Are you okay?
if those are the three changes, I'm okay to make a motion to adopt those three changes and adopt the new rules.
Well,
have-
are we done going through
Oh,
this, or are we just doing this, Sean? Were you saying
Oh, no,
just
I
for this
didn't know
one?
you weren't done.
Well, there was one I didn't
Okay.
like, was A, under agenda. So under rules of order, a small a, and it had to do with, the citizens wishing to place an item on the town council agenda, and how they have to have, a presentation packet sent by a certain time. I just think that, if somebody wants to be put on the agenda, just say, for example, to speak to what, something like Dan just spoke to, and just say they don't have a presentation, and they just say, I want to talk about this traffic thing on Sanborn Road, blah, 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 because they want to have a discussion, not just talk at public comment, because it might take longer than 5 minutes. They should be able to do it. They should be able to tell you what the topic is, It should go through the town manager or through the town council chair, whoever that is, and then it just should be put on, as far as I'm concerned. But
I'll adamantly disagree with that.
Yeah, I also disagree with that.
why?
Because, and I'll explain why.
Okay, sorry.
So when we put on our own rules, we have to put stuff on the agenda. We have to have it in the packet, so the rest of us have adequate time to research what's going on and so there's no surprises for us on here. If someone else is going to put something on the agenda, they should be subject to the same rules so that we can do research on the subject instead of getting caught with a subject that we don't have a lot of answers to in a presentation that we can't do anything for the public. There's a difference between public comment and a presentation as an agenda item, and that requires preparation.
But we don't, as counselors, have to do that. It doesn't say we have to give a presentation. It just says citizens have to give the presentation.
No, but if we put something on the agenda, we have to have that by Thursday. We get
Right, you
that-
say, I'm
yes.
gonna talk about this.
Yes.
So why do we have to have a presentation done by citizens and not counselors
Well,
then?
I think a presentation is subject to interpretation. It could be a piece of paper, it could be,
Yeah.
could be an agenda. It doesn't have to be like a whole slideshow.
Well,
A presentation is just tell the,
The informational
Well,
package.
The
that
information
I'm
comes
going by
with-
the words
Yeah.
here, and to me, when I hear the word presentation, it's kind of like what Dan did. He had slideshows and he had the words going. You know, he had a whole speech.
A presentation could literally be 2 sentences in a slide. A presentation could be 40 slides. There's no
Yeah.
legal definition of what a presentation is.
Well,
I would respectfully,
They're missing the word here.
I don't agree with that. I think it should stay the same.
Yeah, I agree.
Do you guys mind if we jump in here to help
Yeah,
out
please.
for a quick second?
Yeah, please.
So I think well, the concept makes sense. I hear you loud and clear. I think we need to look at what it's asking. It's asking to get it in by 9 if there's a presentation or a plan to present. I think it's out of courtesy to all of you up there. It's out of courtesy for the person behind the scenes in the town that has to prepare all the documents, get it ready for my approval, for the chairman's approval, to have it out so that it can be viewed in a timely manner for a presentation or a plan. I think we've seen this in the past historically when counselors or citizens don't like it when someone's added last minute. Some people have made comments that it doesn't look good. So I think you got to have a timeline in there. I think it's important.
I'm not problem with the
Yeah,
timeline.
no, I'm not. This is your discussion.
Yeah.
I just think that I think it's very specific. It's talking about a plan to present a presentation.
Specifically says, and plan to make a presentation. So in other words, if they're planning to present already, give us the materials in advance. It doesn't say they have to have a presentation.
Right.
Just,
I think the verbiage is fine.
All right.
Any other changes?
Nope.
There is a motion on the floor from
Yeah,
Sean.
no
Is there a
further
second?
changes. Motion to adopt those. two
Second from
changes.
Dan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed.
Okay. Motion carries chair votes yes, 4-1. Moving on to town council goals. We were asked if we could bring 1 or 2 goals, either for the council or for a personal goal you wish that the council would have. And I just wanted to discuss them. If I will open up to start the conversation. One of the things that I would like to do is I'd like to work with the utility committee. I would like to work on a phased water plan for Londonderry. Could be 1 through 20, 1 through 15. A realistic plan of action that can be updated yearly and amended as needed. I think it's something that we can look into the future and say, we have a 20-year plan for water, and this is what we're gonna do. And if we get to year 3 and we need to adjust it, we adjust it, but at least we have something written on paper of what we'd like to do. And I'd like to work with the utility committee to do that. That's one of my goals I'd like to do.
That's a wonderful goal. Just want to say that.
My second goal is I'd like to see if we can get monthly updates from the department heads as far as where they are with budget, and if there's anything that they need from us. This could be either written or verbal. We could have it either way, whatever's more convenient. But just so we don't get hit with something when we're 6, 7 months in and the council learns that this department's over budget and we have to fix it. Those are two of my suggestions.
Mr. Chairman, can I make a recommendation?
Yeah.
I think, in my honest opinion, I think that's important to come from the town manager / finance director to give them an update. No one better than the finance director
Okay.
for the area of expertise. But it's a good idea, and you're right. You don't want a surprise at the last minute or the last hour. So I think I'll make a little note here. And when do you want to start this? Do you want to do it monthly? You want to do it quarterly? Do you want to do it?
Let's start off monthly, because we're kind of starting a little behind, and see how we do.
Would
And
you
I
like,
don't mind if it's a quick presentation from Justin.
would you like the first one at the May council meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else want to go next?
With the vice chair.
Sean?
Sure. I mean, as far as goals, my goal is to preserve Londonderry's low tax rate with our excellent services. It is to maintain the look and feel of this town that I know people are very adamant about keeping Londonderry like Londonderry, and I think that's highly important. And then third, this one's most important and very passionate idea of mine. I want to make sure that we keep pursuing down the road to do a comprehensive look at the traffic in this town. I think every single time we get a onesie-twosie intersection, we do ourselves a disservice. We move the traffic problems around. Sometimes people have congestion as a problem. Sometimes people have speed as a problem. Sometimes people can't get on their road. None of these are solved by the same thing. But somebody comes before the council and they have one issue with one particular specific intersection they want fixed, and we change the speed limit of that road, we change that, we move the problem to 3 other spots, and we don't comprehensively look at this. This town, in the way it's going to grow in the future, needs to have a look at each roads, and we have to incorporate zoning with that and take a look at where our setbacks are, where our sight lines are. There is much more to this than just traffic cops and stop signs. And this is something I want to keep trying to drive forward, work with the existing staff and work with the new town manager, hopefully, to get us something where we have a long-term, similar to your water,
Yeah.
we have a long-term solution to our traffic in this town.
Excellent. Who wants to,
I don't care.
Deb?
Sure.
Someone's raising their hand, so.
Well, I'm going to preface this with, I had 30 things on this item,
Two.
and I've whittled
Deb's
it
going
down.
last, though.
And I've whittled it down to like my top number one thing, but I have 8 secondary ones, and they're small and they're really easy to do. So the first one, which is not, is I want to look into how to control growth. And I've got A, B, C, D, E, and F under that, which is I want to have a thorough look at growth management, ordinances, and zoning amendments, which I know Councilor Farrell had mentioned that Kelly was already looking at. So I guess I'd like to see a presentation as to where that stands, where we are with that. That's A. B is I would like to review the PUD, maybe thinking about putting that on the bookshelf, as well as the TIF and the commercial industrial things that we have. C was to limit the number of permits that we give out. I know that's a long process, but it can be done. D, I wanted to.
Building permits? I just want to make sure I'm clear on you.
Yes, this is all under land stuff. I'm sorry, Kelly. Excuse me. D, I want to start working with planning and economic development to start think about preparing for some of the upcoming legislative changes from the state related to housing and how our ordinances will play into that and what we can do to be proactive as opposed to reactive to them. E, I want to look at the land use taxes for conservation and how that's divvied up and how we can maybe get more buildable land off the books and into conservation, since that seems to be a sounding thing that the people of this community want. And F is to look at implementing impact fees. So that was my number one thing. Number 2 was to
That was all
look,
number one, Deb?
that was just number 1. These are all short and easy, I swear. So, number 2 was to look at the Gilchrist money that we got and how that would be used. I'd like to have a discussion on how we're gonna do that. I mean, I know that the $750 went to conservation, but the rest of the money,
Just to be clear, 35 Gilchrist.
I'm sorry?
You're talking about 35 Gilchrist?
Yes. I'm sorry, Kelly.
I just want to make sure it's on the record clearly.
I'm not sure if it is 35, but
It is,
that.
it is.
the-
I just
the-
want to state it so that
Okay.
minutes taker understands it.
Okay, so number 4 was to, which we did tonight, look at some of the warrants that passed. There were 5 of them. I'd like to revisit budget having teeth, maybe producing the default budget in accordance with RSAs. Also looking at the planning board being elected, having a deeper conversation. 5, having a joint school board, town council, library, and budget committee meeting in the summer like we used to do to find synergy for tax savings. Excuse me. Number 6, looking at new attorneys for the town and doing what the school board does, having a separate one for the town council for when we don't necessarily agree with the town manager, so there's no conflict.
Hey, wait a minute.
Well, you won't be here, so don't worry. I'm sorry. Number 7 is appointing 2 counselors as a liaison to be part of the union negotiations moving forward. Number 8, evaluating the plans. This kind of goes with what Sean and Ron said for infrastructure, natural resources, and water. And number 9 is start for preparing for when cable fees are going to get cut and/or go away because of live streaming. I noticed a lot of towns are looking into that because the revenues coming in are going to get cut back a bit. So I don't want to be blindsided for losing that income. What we can do to be proactive about it, and that's it for now.
That's it.
And I just want to clarify a couple of things.
Sure.
As with respect to what I've been looking at. So the first item, when Councilor Paul was talking about controlling growth, you referenced growth management ordinance. So that's something that the planning board dove into a few months ago. I was involved in that, but I didn't actually set out to do the research. That was a planning board matter that the planning board chair and planning board decided to do. That's a separate matter from impact fees. Impact fees is something that I am looking into, and I'm happy to bring that to the council
Oh, that'd be fantastic.
with our legal counsel as well, who's been assisting with the research and backup to that. So I just wanted to clarify that point, that I am looking at impact fees currently.
And one more
not
question,
many.
Kelly. Are you guys planning, well, since you know, right, is planning, are they looking at our ordinances as they stand now and our zoning amendments and making different moves to kind of write it for what's going on?
With respect to the proposed legislation?
Yes.
So, yes, we are, my department, we're tracking that and we're paying attention to it, trying to prepare for potential amendments. We won't know for certain, obviously, what the language is going to dictate us to do.
Right.
But typically, at the end of the legislative session, they, state in coordination with NHMA, puts out a document that essentially directs municipalities as to the legally required changes that we need to do. And again, that's usually at the end of the summer, and at that time, we would address the zoning changes that we need to. Separate from that, I brought to the planning board a list of items a couple of weeks ago, maybe last month, talking about zoning amendments not related specifically to the legislature, and I had the board prioritize those items so that it was clear as to where the planning board's priorities lied. I can,
Yeah, I mean, a
Go through a list,
presentation
but-
would be good, to get a little more in the weeds into that, because I really think we, as a council, should be aware of how we're moving this forward.
Sure.
Thank you very, very much. A lot of work there going on.
So I just
Thank
wanted
you.
to touch on a few of the items that you had there. So you had mentioned the 5 warrant articles that had passed last year and with
It
being
was
the
2
budget
years
committee.
ago. 2 years ago,
Fro-
Ted.
It was actually last spring, but yes.
Well, yeah.
So we had talked about that at many meetings, and we had found that to make a lot of those changes, we would actually have to change the town charter.
Oh, I missed that. Thank you for bringing that up.
And so a lot of them
Number 3.
cannot just be enacted or changed immediately. So we had talked about that multiple times, that they would actually have to be changed on a town charter.
I understand that, and I'm glad you brought that up because I skipped one. Number 3 was a process for amending the town charter. Thank you for
Right.
helping me point that out as one of my goals.
Right. So we cannot just make those things just happen.
I understand.
And it's been talked about before that it would probably be a 2 to 3 or
I
more year
understand.
process for a town charter.
But also the
And it would also have
council,
to
if we,
vote.
Okay, okay.
I just
One at a
want,
time, please.
Yeah.
I'm already
Well-
speaking. So it would have to go, I believe, to the public to be voted upon for even doing a study. And then we would have to then go about the whole process of doing our charter change. So a lot of the items that you wanted to have passed and be enacted cannot just happen because they needed charter change.
yes and no.
So Ted, just keep in mind that this is just a list of goals that
I
Deb
understand.
brought
I
up.
just want to make sure the
Doesn't mean we're acting
realization
on
upon
it.
what
Just-
she
I
had
She's
wanted.
just saying them out loud.
Ron, I totally understand this
Okay.
because I was told this by you guys.
But-
But that was a charter change done by a citizen. The council can put anything they want on the, as a warrant, for a charter change. So that eliminates the putting it together of a charter commission.
We're not debating the.
I know,
the-
but I just
We're not
wanna
here to
be
debate
clear.
the things tonight. We're just here to get some goals for the council.
I
okay?
understand, Ron.
So I just want to bring it back to,
Each individual.
yeah, each individual goal we're not debating tonight.
Well,
All right?
Ted.
Ted or?
Yes, I wanted to have the land to be looked at that the town has owned for a while now, which is next door to us between here and the Grange Hall, of a potential use, whether it be recreation or whether it be, I know DPW in the past had shown some interest, or another use for that land instead of just sitting empty and being farmed. I think it's town land, and I think, me personally, I'd like to see a recreational use for that land. We have 5 acres of land there that I think are prime land for a recreational use and potentially more parking, as certainly we are limited with parking when it comes to Old Home Day and other events in the center of town. And I think it would be good for us to take a look at, different departments to come up with different ideas upon how we can use that going forth in the future, whether it's, enough time for something to come to a warrant article for next year or in future years. And for it to either, if it, whatever the costs may be worthwhile to go to some of the businesses within the community to try and get funding that way to help go forth. I know there's a lot of small businesses in town who would love to be able to put their name on a recreational use. But obviously, it may take some time to develop whatever plan that may be. So, but I think at least talking about it and bringing some ideas to the table would help for the council to understand and for the town to understand what that land could be used for. And so, yeah, that's the one thing, major thing I had.
Okay. Dan?
I don't know if we have enough room to do anything else after. I got a few goals.
Dan's very
Well,
diligent. Typed them all out.
To touch base a little bit on what you were talking about, having, get the update on their budget.
Yeah.
On department heads, I would like to see us, probably every meeting, have a different department head come in and just touch base with the council to see, give us an update, all right? It's nice to hear from them, because the only time you really hear from them is at the budget process, and they say, oh, I need this, or this is what I'd like, all right? If we kind of heard from them every so often and said, hey, my department's doing great, but, as we grow as a community, I might need something.
Okay.
In the last 3 weeks, I've met with Kelly, I've met with a lot of people in the community, and our employees, and one of the top goal was to help the community of Londonderry move in a positive manner while listening to the concerns of people, and have to try to facilitate a solution with issues that are brought up during the year. It may not always be the solution some people want, but I want it to be a solution that is best for our community. My other goal is, as the town is growing, the request for services increase in our community. I'd like to have each department reviewed to see if the staffing and needs is appropriate and probably funded to serve the community of Londonderry. This would help us probably during our budget review process, as they bring in requests for personnel, for equipment. We could find out everything is great, and we might get some recommendations that perhaps some departments are understaffed or our staff is underutilized. So do we need more or less of staff in one area? Is the department structured in line with the communities our size? I mean, we have other communities in our area, Hudson and everything else. I mean, how are we doing with them? So do things need to be moved around to be more functional and cost-effective to the taxpayers while continuing to provide the best quality service in our community? That's what I'm looking for.
Okay,
Awesome.
excellent.
I think that one was.
Well, thank you all for doing that. I think it's a good exercise. We can all feel out where we want to go as a council. So I think it's very productive. Deb, a little aggressive, but we got them all written down.
Well, two of Dan's was like 25 and one was like, I think, number
So,
30.
Moving on to approval of minutes, we have 2 minutes to approve. I'll take a motion to accept the March 3rd minutes.
So moved.
Motion by Sean. Is there a second for the March 3rd?
I will second that one.
Second by Ted. All those in favor of the March 3rd minutes?
Abstained.
Aye.
Aye.
I have to abstain.
So 3-0, Deb and Dan abstain. I'll take a motion to accept the March 17th Town Council minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Ted, second by Sean. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Abstained.
Thank you. Chair votes in the affirmative. Liaison reports.
Had a great meeting with Heritage Commission, seeing what the potential new design will be for the homes at Woodmont on the north side of Pillsbury Road. It'll be a wonderful new community once it's built within the larger project. What we had presented very much looked like Cape Coddy, New England type homes. They'll have a very wonderful clubhouse and ground pool, planning for a dog park and a playground and trails to be walking upon. And even the lighting looks really incredible. So it'll be very nice when they have their presentation for planning board, I think.
Ted,
And as well, some of the looks at Fort Technology Hill looked like they'll be a very nice development once all done.
on the dog park, Ted, is that going to be just for them, or is it going to be for the whole community?
I don't think that's been fully vetted out yet,
Okay.
sorry.
Because I know we've had people ask in the community about a dog park.
My understanding, it's private to the community.
Private?
That would make sense.
Thank you.
It's private property, so.
Go to Sean, Sean.
Dan, you're next. You don't always get to speak last, Dan.
Let's see, I attended the ZBA meeting there, nothing that happened really. Library, I had concerns about their health insurance that I spoke to Tara about and relayed the information. Trustees are also concerned about the high cost of health care. Spoke to Tara and she informed me that she is keeping our options available should we have to change from health trusts, because there is concern right now that health trust might not be able to continue. Senior resource meeting is going to try to move, I suggested they try to move their meeting to 2 p.m. from 6 p.m. Hopefully that would interest more seniors to want to get involved in the senior resource committee. My point was that at 6 o'clock, a lot of people, especially when it gets dark early, don't want to come out. Traffic safety this evening we had, they are going to be bringing a proposal to the council to lower the speed limit down to 30 miles an hour. And then I met with various departments to get up to speed on what was happening. And that is it.
Any other liaison reports? Okay. Town manager report.
Nothing?
I didn't have a meeting. It was planning.
I've
board
got a
meeting.
few.
All right.
First of all, we have filled the executive assistant, the EA position at the town manager's office, with a start date of sometime first week of May. So we interviewed a lot of people for that job. We believe we found a great candidate to work and serve in the town hall. We still have some interviews we're concluding in engineering with one more vacancy in there. So that is underway. And then some important news I received the last couple of days. DOT, they finally have approved to reduce the speed limit on 102 from Hudson to the Mammoth Town line from 55 to 45. So, well, that is a win for the citizens. Some of the commuters who travel through our community may not like that, but as we've heard here before today, it's all about the safety of our citizens, and I think this is a big deal, given the residents that have come to the town council meetings, that have come to traffic safety from Burbank, Boyd, Old,
When's that start?
and High Range Road, et cetera. So, Deb, to answer your question, I heard that it's going to be on April 10th between the 9 and 10 a.m. So the PD and DOT are going to work together. We're going to go out there, do a little photo shoot. We're going to take a photo of the signs coming down, new signage going up, and at that point, we'll do some public safety announcements.
Can you send that to me so that I can get it in the,
I can,
for
I'm
this
just
week?
send you like,
A press release?
I'll figure something out for you.
'Cause
Absolutely.
That would be good to be in
No
there for
problem.
this week.
Yep.
Chief, just to follow up on that, I believe that DOT was going to do an education process too, if I
So-
recall correctly, because
That's
they were
good.
going to do flashing signs and give people a chance to adjust to it, I believe.
Yeah, I
for us
don't-
in that meeting.
Sure, we were at that meeting at the State House
Yes, we
together.
were.
I don't know if that is the full scope of what's going to happen. I
Okay.
think there's some signage out there. There's 4 signs they're going to swap out. Our efforts for the police department in that stretch is going to be to get out there and enforce it, work with the community to bring awareness to the reduction.
Yep.
I'm not sure about flashing signs. I mean, if DOT shifted or changed, I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
But this is a great step to reduce.
They had just mentioned they were going to try to educate before they ticketed,
Yeah, well,
just so the citizens don't be like,
yeah, well, they don't ticket, we do.
I know,
but,
I'm just saying.
But we're gonna find something creative, and we'll have offices out there in that stretch, and I think it's gonna be it's a long time coming, and as
Yeah.
we've heard Councilor Paul mention about growth, right?
Yep.
And I said this at traffic safety, and Councilor Bouchard mentioned it. We can't control a lot of things, but we can control the speed.
Mm-hmm.
And if this doesn't show the citizens that we hear them, we are working for them and with them. This got approved. This isn't an easy feat
Oh,
to
it's
get
definitely
accomplished
not
through
easy.
anyone.
Absolutely.
So to have this take place in our community in less than a year is remarkable. So thank you to you for being there.
Yep.
And Sharon Carson, she was heavily involved in the DOT personnel that took the time to hear us and the citizens. So that's a great thing. And then lastly, on that stretch of 102, sometime this summer, I don't have a date yet, but they're going to be repaving that stretch of 102 as well. So they'll probably be doing line markings, et cetera. So when that gets closer, I'll relay that information to my soon-to-be boss, and we'll make sure everybody's on the same page, and we'll put something out so citizens know that there could be delays coming. And that's all I have for today.
Well, that was a lot.
Dan, you have a question? Yes. Good.
Good?
Yeah, no, I said, go ahead.
Oh,
Hey,
I,
yes, your
I,
question.
this is to the acting town manager. I had somebody request, what is the status on our ranger? Since we don't have a ranger right now, and we're getting into the season of the rail trail being used, and, all our conservation area being used, and I know that was a very important position that Conservation Commission started funding, and the town supported. So I'd like to know what. at this-
Sure, I'll keep it short and sweet because that's what I'm allowed to do.
Yeah.
Filling positions, I get to them as soon as I can when I'm ready. The priority with that position was on the back burner because we're dealing with another vacancy from our fleet cruiser maintenance position. I believe that the priority of swapping over the department's entire fleet of cars is my first priority, and the conservation position that is vacant, I will get to it in short order.
Assistant Town Manager report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, as I alluded to, the planning department is working on going through a series of zoning and site plan and subdivision amendments, so all of our land use regulations. We asked the planning board to give a little bit of guidance as, in terms of how that's being prioritized, so I would encourage you and the public to follow the planning board meetings so you can understand how we're working through that process. And then lastly, the master plan steering committee, their next meeting is next Thursday. So again, encourage folks to attend that meeting as well.
Thank you. Is there anyone for public comment?
Mr. Chair, before we go into that,
Yep.
I noticed that you had added this to our meeting agenda before we even changed our town council rules and our meeting rules. So I don't really feel like that was appropriate to do so before we even changed our rules for the meetings.
Okay, do you want to overrule the chair? It's fine, take a vote.
I'm okay with it.
I'm okay with it. If people are staying here to talk, they should talk. It's just good government.
I want to just at least acknowledge and make sure that you were trying to make a change before we actually made a change of the rules.
I was not trying to intentionally make any change, Ted, I can
I
tell you
just want to
that.
make sure. Thank you.
I was just, the last meeting, Ted, I did ask,
Trying to follow our rules and our procedures.
the last comment, the last public,
Fine.
I did ask for public comment at the end. So,
Fine, I just want to follow rules and procedures. Thank you.
are we good to go?
Yep.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
I need a second just to breathe after that one. I wasn't going to say anything except for the stuff that was brought up tonight. One of the reasons that no one stays to the end of the meeting is because they know you can't say anything at the end of the meeting. So go home, get some sleep, wait 2 weeks later. Why do we add public comment in the beginning and the end? Because Article 18, that was passed last spring, 3,085 people voted, 1,077 people voted no to include public input at the start and end of each meeting, which the town council did a very poor job on. Now, Ted did say, oh, well, we were doing that. We were adding it at the end of the meeting, but apparently he has a problem when someone gets up and wants to make public comment. The first one, Sanborn, I think it's definitely needs to be addressed. When we used to deal with, my wife and I were involved with the cheerleaders, getting out on that road, even at 7, 8 o'clock at night, you're taking your life in your hands. I usually took a right, went all the way up to the light, and came back down. What I do find interesting, though, is it wasn't added to the agenda, which there was a discussion about residents adding things to the agenda and providing a presentation. So it wasn't noticed to the public. No one in the public had any idea that this was being talked about. I'm willing to bet there probably would have been a couple people that had something to say. Wrapped into that, I find it odd that everyone in this room seemed to know that this was being brought up, except for the people that sit back here. Because we added it to new business, and within 2 seconds, we had a map, exactly what Mr. Bouchard wanted to talk about, on the screen. Business of the council should be done in public, not in the hallway. Last one, because I've had multiple people ask me this. We have an opening for the trustee of the trust fund, unfortunately to the passing of Mr. Green, and people are asking when that's going to be filled.
I can answer that question for you, sir. So my understanding is we have to wait 30 days for the position to be unfilled. That would be April 11th. After the 30 days, it gets posted for 2 weeks. Then it comes to the town council to review those applications, and then we appoint somebody. That is my understanding of the law.
The only other thing I scribbled down is the joint meeting. I think that's a great idea. We used to do this years and years ago. Mr. Bouchard probably remembers. I was at a library trustee meeting a couple months ago. It was clear there was a misunderstanding of the way kind of the process worked, and I actually suggested that they reach out and do the exact same thing so that everyone is on the same page, because as the saying used to go, you know, you have $1 in this pocket or $1 in that pocket, it doesn't matter. It comes out of the same pair of pants. So if the library wants to do something, they'd be better off working with the budget committee, understanding it, and if the school wants to do something, we could potentially work together. So I think it's a really good idea, and that's all I have.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chair,
Oh, yes.
I just wanted to add in, Mr. Douglas, I had no idea that Dan was going to be presenting on the item at 28. That kind of shocked me a little bit. I do agree with your comments on that. Thank you.
Mr. Douglas, I just want to address that too. All right. I'm new at this. Sorry if it wasn't on the agenda. I had this brought up, and I think that probably at the next meeting, I think we'll pack this room with parents and concerned people from the North School area.
I'm not blaming you.
So,
I
I'm sorry.
fully understand you're new, but I've also seen agendas updated at 3 o'clock in the afternoon
Yep.
on the day of the meeting. So we could very easily have added that. There are 1 or 2 people, myself, that actually checks to see if there have been changes, because I do post
Yep.
agendas on my website, and I have gotten people saying, this wasn't on the agenda. Well, I didn't know it changed at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So if it is on the agenda, you do get people in here, and the meetings might go until 10:30. I've been to town council meetings that routinely went until 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning, 16 years ago.
Yep.
So it's nothing new.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening. Patrick Elazim, 22 Summer Drive. I would just like to thank the council for that good discussion of all your goals. In particular, just appreciate as a citizen the discussion about public comment and such. So definitely appreciate everyone's viewpoints. I would do also support explicit at the start and at the end public comment. Like to thank Councillor Paul for the more detailed comments on that. So just registering another citizen who appreciates that and agrees with the public comment explicitly on both. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Seeing none, I'll close public comment. I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Sean, second by Dan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Well, yes. Thank you, guys.
It was a great meeting.